团队还在讲，他好期待那个何国庆师兄的一个分享。那我们来看一下。
So the only here from British they expect Brother Guoqing's sharing today.
为什么说我们并没有特意的安排？可是呢，就在这样子一个演讲，嘉义的团队要来讲这个部分。
So the Jiayi volunteer want to present the Jing's aphorism. So from Brother Guoqing, he make his wills that he is willing to have the Jing's aphorism shared around the world. So it was at the ceremony for the Ciji nursing school. We started on that commencement day. So after seeing the Jing's aphorisms, Brother He actually wanted to publish it, and he had the dream of publishing more than 1 million versions, more in prints. And ever since the publishing in 1989, there's more than 8 million prints. So now we know that Jing's aphorism was actually came from Brother He. Now, we're really grateful that he actually did visit Kaohsiung when he had the opportunity to come back to Taiwan. Because when doing this retreat in the abode, I was there as well. So from what I hear is those who are giving without expectations and at the same time being very grateful for the opportunity. This is not just a slogan, but rather something they would do in reality. And how pure, how good, and such a beautiful sight to see. So from this view, from this picture, you can see this is whenever masters come to visit. On the 7th floor, we have our little meeting room. And I'd like to show this video as how the team in Canada was making the vow to Master that day. And Master has given them her affirmations and blessings. Now, because of how well they have done, they have received their recognition. Now, I'm going to share with you this video.
This is number one effort, and he has spent.
So we're very grateful that each of our overseas families have been very dedicated in promoting in Tzu Chi. Now we know that Tzu Chi Canada has been around for about 30 years, and in 30 years is a time when people are able to stand on their own and support their own family. So as we see here, whenever there is an activity, Tzu Chi members are always been invited in Canada to participate. And this is because of all they have done for the society. Now, the humbler university have given the CEO of Brother He the honorary degree in 2019 as a recognition to Tzu Chi's effort. So let's give a round of applause to the former CEO of Brother He and also the Canada team. And now I'd like to welcome him to join us. And I'd like to be with you because you have this positive energy. And we're very grateful for him for providing us a written document of his sharing to help our translation team. But this is also to hear from him what the Canadian Tzu Chi members have been helping the refugees in Ukraine. So Kaohsiung study group, brothers and sisters, hope you all have a good day. I am very grateful for this opportunity to share with you all. Now, last week, the Canada branch had a board meeting with Master, and there I heard some of the topics that people around the world are concerned about, and I would like to share with you these topics. Number one, of course, is the refugee situation of the Ukrainian refugee situations. Now, refugee aid has been something that's been consistently done by Tzu Chi members around the world. I personally have been to Sri Lanka, to Haiti, to the US to assist the refugee there. Now, the refugees there is actually very different from the refugees I see when they're accepted into Canada. It's because the Canadian government has been very supportive of the refugees migrating over, and there are many organizations that are aimed at supporting them. But for us, we would first like to meet with the local religious groups, if they were migrated to Canada, we'd like to connect them with the Orthodox Church or whatever their religions, and also provided them with what they need, their immediate aid. In addition to material distributions, we also given them a Jing aphorism, because I feel like this is a characteristic, a special part of Tzu Chi, because in addition to physical aid, we also support them by giving them their spiritual aid. Now, from the spiritual care comes from our body language, either with through our bows, through the ways we present the distribution, these aid, these goods, as well as the smiles on our faces when we see them. This love can be transmitted from our gestures, from our facial expressions, and this is very important to the refugees who have left their home from far, far away. Now, as we see from the relief efforts around the world, it is quite unique for Tzu Chi, and that this has been a direction of masters, how to share our humanistic values, our characters through our interactions with them. Now, one of the brothers has shared with us that 6 years ago, when the Syrian refugees arrived in Canada, we started our long-term care. Now, from the pictures that we saw them, and we can see that when they first arrived, they were depressed, they're anxious, because they arrive in a place where they don't speak the language, and it's a completely foreign place to them. Now, 6 years later, when they receive the Canadian citizenship, at their swearing ceremony, they were allowed one family or one friend to accompany them, and all of them decided to invite Tzu Chi members. Now, people will often ask them why they invited Tzu Chi members, because we obviously don't look like them. Well, they would say that because he is our brother. Now, as we can see, this kind of impact, this kind of lasting impression, and we can see that on their facial gestures as they find their hope, find their future from the Tzu volunteer, from the aid of Tzu volunteers. And this love is not just material, but rather they're spiritual. And you can see that on their face that they really feel the love. And this kind of sharing, this kind of giving with love is not common around the world. And now we even have the opportunity to connect the Syrian or Iraqi refugees to meet with the Ukrainian refugees and kind of share with their experience, how they overcome and how they assimilated into the local communities. Now, the sharing between former refugees and recent refugees, we believe, is a very important thing and has been a goal of the Tzu volunteers for this sharing of experience. And this kind of caring, this love is apparent in all Tzu volunteers around the world. Now, second point I'd like to share with you all is that as we see, there are all sorts of ethnic conflicts around the world. In Tzu, in Canada, for example, even though it is predominantly of Chinese descent, but we also accepted people from around the world, from Malaysia, from Singapore, from South America. And it's a snapshot of the society in Canada, which is very multinational, very multicultural. And we're able to work with each other with ease, without conflict. And it's also transcends all religious affiliations. I've been invited to share in churches and even their TV stations. So I remember the TV anchor have said that the immigrants have been have been in Canada for so long, but yet they don't have an organization much like Tzu where they're giving back to the local communities. So it is quite a praise for us that we were able to really touch them, even though we are of different ethnic backgrounds and different religion. So I feel that in pacifying the society, Tzu has played a very big role because we all share a same vision that we wanted to purify the world, purify Earth. And at the end, I feel like everyone may be very concerned about the extreme weathers, extreme climate changes. As we know, Master has been very diligently, tirelessly promoting vegetarian diet. Now, I have friends who are working in hospitals in Canada, and as they are assisting the patients, one day they are very anxious. They had a meeting regarding the COVID-19 cases and trying to figure out a solution. Well, a volunteer shared with them that Master has taught us that only through vegetarianism, a plant-based diet, can we really resolve this pandemic. And it has been quite a wake-up call to the hospital members. Now, early this year, I visited one of my friends who's building a garden. I see that he has imported over hundreds of very expensive pine trees, and the planting process has been very complicated. And he said that each tree, in order for them to grow, to bring them to Taiwan, it takes about 2 to 3 years for that to really take root. Now, I saw that all these trees that take 2 to 3 years. Now, one of my friends had asked, so what happens if you meet typhoon during this period? Would you lose all of them? Well, my friend answered that this past couple of years there hasn't been any typhoon, there hasn't been any natural extreme weather changes. So I've been thinking that it's such a fortunate site for Taiwan to be so free of weather related to disasters. And so maybe even though the global weather changes doesn't affect Taiwan so much because there's such a big group of Tzu Chi members that are doing doing recycling, taking vegetarian diet, finding ways to help the world. So perhaps it is these good deeds that helped Taiwan to be so well protected against climate change. So I often think that we're really fortunate. And even though we may enjoy it without knowing, we have to think of the cause of what's giving us this fortunate opportunity. So I'm very grateful for Master for creating Tzu Chi and giving us the opportunity to help aid the world. And I'm very grateful also to have this opportunity to share my thoughts. So let's give a round of applause to thank our former Canadian CEO, Brother He. If you have the opportunity to meet him in person, you would know that he is a very admirable person. Now, I would like to share my story when I meet with him because before he moved to Canada, every time we would go back to the abode, we would see him there. And we see that Master have given you so many praises and we have been very inspired and very admired at what you do. So I'd like to use this opportunity to share my admiration to you. And so this is kind of the feedbacks we have received from our online viewers, who says that Tzu Chis have been able to aid the refugees regardless of their religious background, their nationality. We all provided them with the same thought and same love. So if you'd like to let this positive vibe reach more people, please share it with all your friends. Give us a thumbs up. So I'm very grateful for Brother He to join us today and to share with us and reminding us that we need to appreciate our blessings as well as actively creating more blessings so that we have a lot of karma that will join us and aid us in the future. So thank you so much for joining today. And we're really looking forward for the next time we get to meet.